Surely. Carolyn Chu with the Legislative Analyst's Office. So the child care and development programs as a whole have been or were under the Proposition 98 guarantee starting with its inception, excluding CalWORks Stage 1, and remained in the guarantee through the 2011-2012 fiscal year and have remained outside of the guarantee since that time.
There was a court challenge along the way?
There was a court challenge when the legislature first opted to include early education programs within the guarantee, but the state prevailed in that particular court challenge. The court determined that the legislature had the discretion to determine the systems that were in support of education in the state.
Thank you very much. And then if you want to proceed with the legislative proposal.
Surely. So this, the legislative proposal before you unifies the state preschool program and provides total augmentations of $330 million in the budget year. In addition, as Senator Leno already mentioned, the plan begins to support education programs out of the Proposition 98 guarantee starting in the budget year. Again, Stage 1 CalWORks is not included within the guarantee. In terms of the specific augmentations made by the plan provides $113 million to remove the deficit factor to the regional market rate, setting the regional market rate at the 85th percentile of the 2009 survey. The augmentations include an increase to the standard reimbursement rate of 4.4%. That's on top of a 1% COLA, so total increases to the standard reimbursement rate would be over 5% in the budget year. And the plan provides 13,200 voucher slots through the alternative payment program and 4,300 general child care slots with a priority for serving infants and toddlers. Total, the proposal would provide 17,500 additional early education slots.
Thank you, Ms. Chu, and also thank you for the history. With regard to the exception of Stage 1, what was the thought behind that at the time?
My understanding is that since Stage 1 was funded within the single allocation to counties, and that it was sort of the immediate touch point for families when they came into the CalWORks program, that it was kept unified under the Department of Social Services budget, but I'd have to get back to the committee on more context for that decision.
And over the years, has the Legislative Analyst's Office had a position on the debate we're about to have?
We do not have a position on whether or not the child care and early education programs are in or out of the guarantee. There are factors to weigh on each side, but historically, the legislature has opted to include it under the guarantee.
And is it accurate to suggest that the reason the action was taken, you said in 2011,
yes,
was because our revenues had fallen so precipitously that we were seeing an extraordinary cut to the classroom as a result of an ever lower minimum guarantee of Prop 98, and the legislature and governor took action to sustain that floor at a time when our revenues were so low?
That is correct, that the movement of the programs out of the guarantee were simultaneous with significant reductions in the guarantee and to the state budget overall.
And that since then, as a result of that move, which was precipitated by the great fall in our state's revenue, that child care took an enormous hit and has not really regained in any way since then.
That is correct, that child care programs were cut roughly $1 billion during the recession over the course of a few years. Over the past couple of years, the legislature has made some augmentations, but the programs are not at their pre-recession levels.
Right, and I say this with respect to all opinions on this, and we're going to have a full debate around it. But as I see it, the legislature took an appropriate action in 2011 because 50% of our budget minimally is spent on education. It's our main purpose for being here, and we saw that we had to do something to make sure it didn't fall any lower than it was falling. Since then, we have seen double-digit growth in the billions of dollars to raise that minimum guarantee, but at the same time, we haven't seen anything comparable in regard to restoration for child care. And when we talk about the well-being of the child and specifically success in the classroom, all of the research and every report I think any of us have ever seen would document that those children that have benefit of early care and education are going to do much better once they get to kindergarten, first grade, and beyond. And so given the confines and in full respect of Prop 98 and its formula, I think what we're proposing here is to find a way to be able to benefit all children from day one, at the same time preparing them for the classroom and attending to the achievement gap before it actually begins to grow. So happy to take any comments. Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much for your remarks, Senator Leno, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think, before we even get into the Prop 98 versus not question, I have to comment on the remarks from Finance, which are, in fact, consistent with remarks I've heard from Finance since I joined the legislature 5 years ago. And I guess my question is, since the governor's May revise, in effect, is a $1 billion spending plan that he's put on the table, at what point, if ever, could we expect any acknowledgement over the needs of working families in California who qualify for subsidized child care, and any acknowledgement over the reality of, in fact, all the research that's become available that has been shared with the administration repeatedly on the value of early care and education and intervention? As I have said repeatedly from this podium and directly to the governor, it would be different if children were born school age and his locally controlled funding formula could impact their lives drastically, but they aren't. And if indeed we are serious about our desire to close the achievement gap and to improve academic outcomes for all of California's children, can we ever expect from this administration any acknowledgement and therefore investment in a deeply compromised early care and education system, based on your comments about deep concerns about ongoing investments and future deficits?
So, every budget presents a unique set of challenges. This one is on all accounts, is a very good budget. Revenues are up $6.7 billion since January, but the Constitution and two provisions in particular have really, and the voters have really spoken about where those monies are allocated. $5.5 billion is going to Proposition 98, another $1.3 billion to Proposition 2 to pay down the state's debts and also save money for a rainy day. This budget does make an investment in the first time ever earned income tax credit that we think, that the governor thinks is really important to bringing families, working families out of poverty. There are many, many choices that go into budgets, but one of the primary responsibilities that the governor sees is really keeping the state's finances stable over the long term. And so while there were many choices made, and they are reflected in the May revision, they also reflect a choice to try and do our best to maintain that fiscal stability over the long term so that we don't go back to the boom and bust and the harm that was done to many programs, including childcare. That was the story over the past decade. So I think childcare is a very important program. Our budget reflects significant investments in childcare. CalWORKs is an entitlement. It is adjusted every year based on the caseload. There are many other important programs, including Medi-Cal and CalWORKs and SSI, SSP. Budgets are always about balancing all of these priorities. And so this year in the May revision, there aren't additional revenues or additional expenditures in childcare beyond what is required under current law.
So then let me just respond to that by saying I appreciate your focus on this year, and I appreciate you acknowledging the new monies coming into the state in this budget year. But in the 5 years I've been here, I have seen zero commitment or investment from this administration in this area. I think it's curious that you reference your proposed EITC program, because that suggests to me that the assumption is that the narrow group of Californians that will apply to is a reflection of the group of California families who qualify and are apply and need subsidized childcare, and to suggest that the average $200 annual refund would in any way be relevant to a family who needs ongoing childcare is offensive at best. I think even with our low reimbursement rate in childcare, that would buy you about a week out of 52. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had this presentation on April 16th, and I requested two things. One was what is the spending per county, and that was provided to me. The other one was what's the spending per capita at our state, and how does that compare to the other 49 states? And I don't recall getting that, so I'm just wondering, are we above average, below average, or are we in the mean?
On spending per capita for childcare?
Correct.
We can get back with you after today's hearing, but California, to my recollection, is slightly above average on per capita spending in terms of state subsidies. We have a rather robust state preschool program comparatively, at least if you don't include the states that have universal preschool programs, but we will get back to you with the exact ranking.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Morlock. Yes, Senator Bell.
Just in terms of the stage 1, 2, and 3 child care, I just wanted to state that when I was chair of the County Supervisors Association Health and Welfare Committee, at the time they did this, it was felt that stage 1 was where they needed a blending of all kinds of complicated individual programs for people starting on child care, and that was best handled. So that's why the child care programs were put into the kind of the aegis of the social services, whereas stage 2 and 3 was where they went through that early process and kind of got out of the problems that they had, the multiple issues, and they were on their way to success. They were put into the Department of Education element. So that's why the later stages 2 and 3 were always considered to be more education, helping, and that was to purposely help them get into training and community college programs and adult ed programs so they can facilitate that by having child care services. So I want everybody to realize that's the way it was intended originally when we did that. Now, the difference between then and now is that there's a much shorter time period for CalWORKs. You know, we really have scrunched it back. So for me, I think that not putting it into the education part is a really unwise thing. And that's why I think the philosophy of putting this where it belongs really is part of the helping somebody go into training and education, I think is a very important policy decision we're making here. And that's why I support the direction that we're making. So that's sort of a little history. I think it's an unwise move to consider this to be a social service. It's a supplement to somebody trying to get into training, jobs, and a career path. So.
Thank you for the history, Senator Bell. Before we go to public comment, Ms. Chu, if you could, I'll come back to you in just a second. Was there any other comment? Yes, Ms. Bosler.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out something that I failed to mention before. Over the last several years, there has been a $660 million restoration to child care and state preschool programs. So, you know, I think that there has been some reinvestment over the last few years. What Ms. Chu said, though, is correct, that we're not above the pre-recession levels, but there has been some increased investment in child care over the last several years.
Thank you, Ms. Bosler. Ms. Chu, before we get to public comment, as proposed, there's also a rebenching. Can you talk to us about that and what that rebenching will actually do to the funds for Prop 98's purposes at the same time that we move child care into 98?
Yes, so under the legislative plan, $994 million would be moved from the non-Prop 98 side of the budget into the guarantee, thereby increasing the guarantee by the same amount. So the augmentations that are being made are largely being borne by the non-Proposition 98 side of the budget, and then after that point being transitioned into the guarantee.
So we make the move of childcare back into 98 as it had originally been, and at the same time, because of the rebenching, the guarantee doesn't suffer, it actually will benefit.
It will benefit. The unification of the state preschool program will require some Proposition 98 funds to be used, but otherwise all of the money is coming with the programs into the guarantee.
Okay, thank you. So we do have public comment. Step right up.
Senator,
I'm sorry, Senator Allen.
just quickly, I wanted to just align myself with the comments made by Senator Mitchell. I served on the school board before I got onto this board, and we were constantly grappling with these difficult issues of the achievement gap and underperformance, and it just is so abundantly clear when you spend time looking at the research about how important early childhood education and care and programming is for addressing those critical issues, and that really strike at the core of equity, of opportunity in America. And we're really so far behind the rest of the rest of our competitor nations when it comes to investment in this area. And I just, while I was very torn about the staff recommendation on the last item, I'm very clearly in support of the staff recommendation on this item.
Thank you, Senator Allen. Senator Block, and then we'll get to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Budget Sub 3 and Budget Sub 1 held a lengthy and very enlightening hearing on this matter. Chair Mitchell shared her deep knowledge, and we heard from many, many stakeholders, more than probably heard today even. And we concluded this is really an important investment in a child's education and does properly belong in Prop 98. And for that reason, I will move that we adopt the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Senator Block. So we do have a motion, and we will begin. A lot of folks here today. As Senator Block said, this has been heard in subcommittee. Your voice is, again, quite welcome. I don't want to have to cut anyone off, so if you could be respectful of everyone behind you, keep your comments to within a minute. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Jeff Baca with the California Association of School Business Officials, and with my colleague Estelle Lemieux from the California Teachers Association, representing the Education Coalition, on the topic of shifting childcare into the Proposition 98 guarantee. The coalition has had many robust conversations about this topic this year. Historically, we have opposed shifting non-Proposition 98 programs to being included within the guarantee. We maintain that position this year. We hope that's not interpreted as a value statement about the importance of adequately funding childcare, but rather a statement of concern that over time, as those costs increase within the Prop 98 guarantee, that it will impact the ability of local education agencies to provide academic programs that allow California students to achieve the goals for student achievement that we all hope for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aka.
With that, I just wanted to add the concern that once Prop 30 revenues stop, the temporary revenues, schools still haven't been restored to the 2008-9 level. Over 30,000 educators were laid off, and our concern is that this is a growing program, this child care, and that when we get there, it will be Peter having to take from Paul to pay for all these programs. It's unfortunate that Prop 98 does have a limited pot of money, and we'd like to have all these programs, the museums, the workforce investment boards, childcare, all in Prop 98 if there was enough money to go around. But it will be from one taking to the other, so I think you really need to consider this for the out years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jaisuk Prasad with the California School Employees Association. We represent the classified staff in our schools, and we also share the same concern. We understand the need for childcare, but we're worried about the balance in the out year and how that encroachment may affect our members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Deborah Brown on behalf of Children Now. I defer a little bit from the previous comments and note our support for the shifting of childcare into Prop 98. And I would refer to Senator Mitchell and Senator Allen's comments about the need to really build a continuum of support and early learning from birth for kids through college. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Mr. Chair and members, Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project. I want to thank you for your leadership and gumption for proposing putting back early care and education into Prop 98. And thank you for your comments. There has to be a cultural shift on how we think about early care and education. And you have just acknowledged that early care and education is part of, is education. It has to be paid with education funding. We're talking about the same kids. They're not different kids. This is going to help the K through 12 system. Also want to mention that putting back early care and education into Prop 98 is just not enough. It has to come with augmentation, and we have to think about that more than what you're proposing, the $332 million. We hope that you go beyond that as you augment early care and education. And with all due respect to Ms. Keely Bosler, yes, budget does come with challenges, but it also comes with opportunities. And this budget year comes with a lot of funding opportunities. So as you go, we hope you think about that as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Luann Nguyen. I'm with the Child Care Law Center. We support the return of child care to Proposition 98 as it was for the first 22 years until 2011, when the Great Depression, we were in the midst of it and the budget tanked. 22 years is an extremely stable amount of time. And so when we look to the question or are trying to answer the question of stability, we can have that. This is not a taking from one to the other. They're all our kids. We can see it as sharing. We are sharing with all of our kids. And that's a very important thing for us to do as a society. We've done legal research on this question about whether the legislature has the ability to make this move, and the answer is a resounding yes. Article 4, Section 1 gives you the prerogative to do as you see fit. And as the economy is better and we are in a different place, it seems to be the right time to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Atasi Upal from the National Center for Youth Law. My comments are regarding Prop 98 package in general, and it seems now that maybe I should hold my comments in.
Why don't you hold them?
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Elvia, and I am with Parent Voices, and this is Johnny. He's 7 months old. I worked my whole pregnancy, and I am on the waiting list for childcare, and I would love for you guys to please support the shift of childcare to Prop 98. We think that $330 million is not enough, and we hope that in conference we adopt a legislative women's caucus $600 million proposal for childcare. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're glad Johnny's here.
He just got fed, so he didn't make any noise. I think for all intents and purposes, the ongoing investment in childcare is a good thing. Parent Voices with our partner organizations delivered over 250,000 votes. That's a quarter million votes for Proposition 30, with a promise that it will free up money for social services and especially childcare. And we worked with the governor under the promise that new revenue would be put back in childcare. A budget is not just a number, it is a value statement, and I hope that we go back to that promise. And ongoing investment in childcare is not stealing from our older kids, because like Luan said, these are all our children, and we hope that we shift childcare back to Prop 98. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria.
Hi, I'm with Parent Voices in Oakland, and this is my daughter, Saili.
And your name, please?
My name is Nelsie. And, childcare is early childhood education for every single California child, okay? And it also, providing childcare is not just a gateway to a job. A lot of us were employed. We are now unemployed simply because we do not have quality childcare. And so I do want to enter back into the workforce. I have a master's and I'm ready to go back to work, and I simply cannot because I do not have childcare. And I am one of 5,000 people in the city of Oakland who are in desperate need of childcare. Many are on the brink of homelessness because of it. And the Alameda County alone has 10,000 families. So the city of Oakland makes up for half of that list. And so we please urge you to definitely vote for childcare and put it back in Prop 98. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Derek Lomax. I'm with Parent Voices of Oakland. I definitely am in full support of putting child care back into Prop 98. I agree with the comments made by Senator Mitchell. I also work in the after-school programming in the Oakland Unified School District, so I'm able to see firsthand the connection between having child care and having and setting yourself up for a good run in this educational system. I can see, the kids that have child care, once they get to kindergarten, they not only know their ABCs and their numbers, they also are more adapt socially faster than the other kids that do not have child care. So I'm in full support of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Kamika Cooper. I'm with Parent Voices, and I would like to see child care put back in Prop 98. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper.
Hi, I'm with Parent Voices. My name is Lori Cooper. I'm a grandmother. I would like you guys to put it back in Prop 98. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper.
My name is Lourdes Alarcon. I'm a single mother with 2 children. I'm going to benefit with the child care system going back into Proposition 98. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Clarissa. I'm with Clarissa Douther with Parent Voices Oakland. I'm here obviously in support of child care going back into Prop 98. Ms. Keeley, we've met with you. You've heard our stories. You know our struggle. You understand what's happening on the ground with families and the importance of these programs. This is a continuum. Education is a continuum. It is not one segmented population. These are children that will go into the K-12 system and not be prepared and be left behind, like my son who's 7, who's struggling, who's having to go through all kinds of interventions that could have been avoided if he had been able to enter into preschool. So I have to ask, how much longer must we wait? Please give us an answer. How much longer do we have to wait? Thank you.
Thank you, Clarissa.
Thank you, Chairman. Erin Gable on behalf of First 5 California. I just want to thank the Chairman and for the members for this thoughtful, historic, and policy framing to this issue as you move forward. I want to thank you for restoring Proposition 98's component of childcare and early learning and looking at it long-term as a policy component of our education system, what that means after the Proposition 30 revenues do expire, and what we want to do long-term for all of our children to truly stop the achievement gap where we can before it starts and bridge it effectively for all of our students. We appreciate the focus on babies in your budget as your values and the recognition of the need to increase quality through rates across the board. Also hoping in the weeks ahead that in such a robust Proposition 98 year that we could look at even further investment towards the preschool promise of all access for eligible 4-year-olds in preschool and additional rate increases for all of our programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gable.
Hi, good afternoon. Molly Tafoya with Early Edge California. I just want to thank you, Mr. Chair, and to this committee for your thoughtful consideration, and just say that we're so heartened by the conversations that are taking place, that we're finally recognizing that our policies are going to start catching up with what parents, educators, families across California know, that early learning matters. We fully support restoring childcare into Prop 98. These are quality education programs that make sense. And as Senator Leno highlighted, revenues are continuing to strengthen. We have an opportunity this year. We stand with the Legislative Women's Caucus and urge a more robust investment in increasing access for our infants, toddlers, and our preschoolers, and increasing our rates for our providers so we can more fully cover the cost of care, so we can pay for these programs. It will help improve quality, and it will help support the system overall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Donna Snaringer with the Child Care Alliance of Los Angeles, and I will say ditto to agreement and thanks for the shift into Proposition 98. We believe that's where these programs belong. Learning begins at birth, and the continuum is important, and the connection to the education system is important. I also want to thank you for the focus on investment and reimbursement rates. Many of you know the City of Los Angeles passed a historic increase in the minimum wage this week, and I want you to know that there is an exemption for child care programs that receive state subsidies because they can't afford to go to the new minimum wage. So we're creating a permanent, lower paid working class in the childcare workforce. We've got to increase reimbursement rates, and we really hope going into conference that you'll consider looking at a more robust and long-term strategy. Thank you.
We thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Nina Boothie, California Child Development Administrators Association. Ditto to all of those comments as well. Also reiterating the minimum wage, especially in Los Angeles, but also across the state of California. In your district too, Senator Leno, in San Francisco, we have a big issue as well. Also, as we look towards conference, really hope that you all look at, the additional quality elements we're putting in here and actually paying for the quality early childhood education that we are currently serving and looking at a more robust solution and looking at some of these rates. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ruthie.
Thank you very much. Monica Walters from WE Children's Services in San Francisco, and I'm representing also 26 other Title V providers in the immediate San Francisco area, and we've also aligned with 9 Bay Area counties to both talk about the crisis that we're facing with the SRR. I appreciate very much, Senator Leno, your leadership on this issue and all of you in supporting the move to 98. We fully support that. We do think, however, that the SRR increase is not adequate. Currently, 50% of our teaching staff are receiving some sort of public benefit, which means that we are woefully unable to pay the kind of teaching salaries that we need to provide quality education. So we fully support the Women's Caucus $600 million request for investment, but also thank you very much for at least really starting the important conversation about how critical investment in our state's early learning system is. There's still 4,000 kids on the wait list in San Francisco, and we need access as well as reimbursement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walters.
Hello, Eric Peterson, the Contra Costa Child Care Council. I'd like to thank you for your support of putting child care back in Prop 98. On a personal note, I come from a welfare family, and our family benefited from a welfare to work program in Minnesota. I watched my mother go from hopeless to successful after getting her CNA degree and making our family self-sufficient. It inspired me to go on and get my master's degree in education early care. And so with that being said, please continue your investment in child care. As Joan Lombardi, former director of Child Welfare Bureau stated, we can't let the different signs over the program door provide an excuse for not investing in child care and early education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson.
Member and chairs, my name is Maisha Cole. I'm from the California Child Care Resource and Referral Network, and we would like to thank you for your commitment and your comments about the importance of early education. We continue to support the Legislative Women's Caucus ask for $6 million for access and rates, and we urge you to collaborate in conference with the Assembly to come up with a comprehensive plan. And on a personal note as well, I'm a product of early education. My mom was a 15-year-old mother when she had me, and we grew up poor, and I just like to say that I continued on, went to UC California at Berkeley, went to UC Hastings, and have a law degree, and I'm currently standing here in front of you because of early education. If I didn't, have a child care provider who took care of me, my grandmother who took care of me, I wouldn't be in this place right now, and I just like to really, really appreciate you all who really understand the importance of education. It starts at birth and it continues until we die. So I just like to say again, we really appreciate your support and your continued effort to make education important for California's children, because California's children are your children, my children, the whole room's children. We're a support network, and we need to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coles.
Hi, my name is Mary Ignatius. I'm the statewide organizer for Parent Voices. As you've heard, we do support the shift to 98, and we thank you for the significant increase that you've all put forward above what the governor's proposal did. We hope that you'll adopt the LAO's revenue projections. They've been the most closest on target over the last several years, because that will allow you, hopefully in conference, to get closer to the $600 million Legislative Women's Caucus ask. The question we have before us today is, do we pay now or do we pay later? And when we are in a moment when we have the revenues, let's pay now. Let's pay now to save another generation of children to be able to have access to these early learning opportunities that are going to save the costs that we're going to see later down the road. If children have access to early learning opportunities now, there's going to be less need for remedial services, less need for child welfare services, less need for, down the road criminal justice. We really need to focus on it now, because during the recession and when there were cuts, and we lost $1 billion, and we lost 110,000 slots.
Thank you.
In revenues, we got to do it now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mike Carroll with the Western Center on Law and Poverty. We also support restoring child care funding to Prop 98. And we concur in the comments by both the Child Care Law Center and Parent Voices on the necessity for doing this now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harold.
Terry Burns on behalf of California School Boards Association. And like Mr. Vaca, we agree that it is important that we serve these young children, but putting this into Prop 98 is not the solution for that. These are, preschool is just what it says, it's preschool. Child care is a care service. It is much more of a social service than an educational service. Yes, there's some great child care out there that does early learning, and we love to see that, but that isn't always the case. I would also note, in line with Ms. Lamou's comment, Prop 30 will be going away in a couple years, and so I think it's really unreasonable to be setting up additional slots that will have to be taken away when Prop 30 goes away. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burns.
Patrick McCallum from the community college side, representing San Diego, Peralta, Los Rios, San Francisco, Los Angeles, South Orange, and Yuba Community College District. We join our K-12 colleagues and our concern about stretching Prop 98 in the area. Doesn't express the need. I think you all know that. Community colleges are the primary trainer for child care and early childhood education. They also have child care centers within the community colleges that are maxed out. You're putting a lot of new responsibility on K-12 and community colleges in a lot of different areas. This would be a new one. But I think it also creates a concern of child care, what's next. And we have to agree as well is what happens when the recession hits or Prop 30 doesn't go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCallum.
Kevin Aslan, Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations. We also support putting the money into taking out of Prop 98. And we also want to remind the committee that CalWORKs recipients are still living in about 21 or 31% of the poverty level. And if they're going to use child care, they need to be able to pay their rent and not starve the last week of the month in order to become self-sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Danita Stromgren, representing the Northern California AP Organizations Directors Group. We support also child care back into Prop 98. Children are learning from the time they are born. They're in child care oftentimes 30 to 40 hours a week. If they're not learning there, I don't know where they're learning. Clearly, child care is a core portion of the education system and needs to be back in. I challenge the Ed Coalition, if they don't believe, if they say that child care and children are important prior to starting in school, then I challenge them to say, if not now, when? And if not in Prop 98, then how? Earlier today, I heard someone say that in San Francisco, we pay more to park our cars than we pay for children to be cared for in childcare. So please put us back into Prop 98, and we support the further investment of the Women's Caucus. Thank you.
Thank you.